Hello. Today we're going to be discussing electronic lab ordering. To generate a electronic lab order, you will do so. This is generally done from the patient encounter, so during a patient visit. In order to generate a plan for ordering, you'll have to select at least one diagnosis from the Assessment tab to add to your encounter, and then we'll select the Plan tab. As you can see, your list of diagnoses are listed on the left-hand side under Assessments. You'll select the one that you're wanting to work with. However, you will have the option to add additional diagnoses from your visit within the lab order form. So in order to generate a new electronic lab, you'll click on the Labs tab within the plan. You'll see a drop-down list with your list of electronic lab options. For this instance, we're going to use Quest. Once you select the lab that you're going to send the order to, it will automatically populate your account number for that lab. In order to create a new lab order, click the Add New button, and this is going to generate your order form. You'll complete the lab order information, the bill type, the order type. Again, you'll have the option to select the lab or verify that it's correct. Select your ordering physician from this drop-down menu. Enter the collection date and time if there is a prepaid amount. And if this is an urgent lab, you can select the STAT checkbox. Again, you will see the list of diagnoses that you had selected up at the top left down here. Or you can add your additional diagnoses at this time by clicking on the plus sign. This is going to pull in your additional diagnoses here. Under your preferences section of the system, you have the option to create favorite lists for favorite test codes, which would include individual lab test codes, or you can group multiple test codes into test groups. This allows for faster ordering if you are ordering routine labs multiple times a day. If I were to add my additional diagnoses for this visit, I can do so by clicking on the plus sign, and it's going to list down here. If I wanted to remove that one, I can click the red X to remove it from the lab order. If I were picking from my favorite list, all I would have to do is click the plus sign to add it to my lab order form. Otherwise, I can free text the lab that I am wanting to order by clicking in the text search. So for example, let's type in CBC, and it will pull up a list of Quest lab codes for this lab test. I would simply check the box next to the lab test I'm wanting to order and click Add Selected. If I wanted to add additional, I would simply search for the additional lab test I'm wanting to add. Once I have added all the tests for this order form, I can complete any instructions and then click the Save button. The Save button will then add this to the patient encounter prior to sending over to the lab. As you can see, it does take just a moment to update to the system. Once it has saved, it will generate a preview of the test of the test order form here, the requisition form that you can review. If you're wanting to print any labels, you can select the number of labels you're wanting to print and then click Print Label. Otherwise, if you're ready to send it to the lab, you can click Print and Send to Lab. This will generate a print preview and give you the option to print the requisition form. However, it is not necessary to provide a hard copy because once the electronic lab is sent, it will show up in the Quest system, and all the patient has to do is go to a Quest location, and they will be able to locate the lab. Once the lab has been sent electronically, you'll see it listed here. This is still in the plan section under labs, and you'll be able to see the status as transmitted. If you needed to add an additional lab, you would go through the same process, click Add New, and complete your lab order form. Once the lab has then sent the results back into the system, they will be received electronically, and you can view those in a couple of different ways. One way is to click on the new lab results order feed on the far right, or use the patient's drop-down menu and go to lab results summary. Both of these options take you to the exact same place. If I am logged in as a provider, I'm only going to see the results for my orders. However, if I click on the Show Lab Results from All Providers, I will then see results for all providers who have created lab orders. If I'm logged in as anyone other than a physician or nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, I will see all orders for the practice. Within the lab results summary, you will see that the labs have associated with a patient name within the system. This red asterisk indicates that the lab was not able to locate a patient chart within the system. I have the option to click on that, and if the patient does in fact exist in the system, I can then type in the patient's name and assign the result to that patient's chart. A couple of reasons that we would have a mismatched lab result would be if the lab had misspelled the patient's name or date of birth, or the patient's chart did not exist in our system. This could be because the order was created prior to the interface being active, and a chart has not yet been created in the OneTouch system. However, you can then go in, add the patient's chart to the system, and then go back to the mismatched lab and assign the chart to the chart. If the lab result was sent in error and the patient does not exist and you do not have a patient by that name in your practice, you can then click Patient Not Found. Going back to the lab results summary, and clicking on a lab result that has associated with the patient chart, it will open the results within the patient chart under the medical information section and in the labs tab. This will be categorized as an outside lab, in which you'll be able to view the lab result, make any internal comments here, send a notification by clicking yes on send notification and typing in the user's name you'd like to send a notification to. For example, if I need to notify my nurse that the patient needs to be notified of the results, I can then type in comments and send a notification to the nurse to have them reach out to the patient. Once I have approved the lab results, they will be visible in the patient portal, and you can then make comments specifically for the patient by typing them in here and clicking Save. Once I've reviewed my results, I would then, when I'm ready to approve, click the Approve button. This is going to remove the lab result off of the lab order feed and save to the patient's chart as an approved lab result. By clicking Graph Results, this will graph the results from the 10 previous times I have ordered this lab for this patient. That is a good example of why not to hit the back button, but you can go click back to the result. If by clicking on print lab result, this will print the lab result that is being shown, and cancel will then take me back to the patient chart and cancel out of this lab result altogether. If these are for multiple lab tests, I have the option to split these into pages by clicking split into pages. Again, clicking approve will approve the lab result and take me back to the patient's chart, in which I will see that this lab has then been approved. This concludes the tutorial for electronic lab ordering and receiving the results.